What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka New York Prepper, and I wanted to weigh in on the EMP threats that I've been hearing about over the last 24 to 48 hours. People have been messaging me and blowing up my phone telling me that there's an EMP threat, and I've seen some big YouTube channels talking about it. So I figured I would tell you guys my thoughts about it and how to prepare. Now I just want to show you where I'm standing. Right here is a major power line for the area that I live in, and it's just a big farm over here, but this is one of the big power lines that goes into the town here. I mean, it's a big power line for where this area is. It's not like interstate or anything, but this power line goes into the town, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the EMP and my thoughts about everything. So, when I first heard that about the EMP threats, and people are saying that Iran and China and all this stuff launched a EMP satellite into orbit. Guys, that's nothing new. I'm not freaking out about it because I've been preparing for something like that for over a decade, okay? But you guys shouldn't panic either, even if you're new to prepping. There's no sense of panicking. The best thing you can do is just, get whatever you can, whatever supplies you can with whatever money you have. Obviously don't spend all your money and start freaking out, but, buy whatever supplies you can get without breaking the bank totally. And, my recommendation to new preppers is always food and ammo. All right, food and ammo and weapons are my top three for new preppers. All right, because water, you can always get water unless you live in a city. But even if you're in a city, there's places you can find water, and you can get water from rainwater, If you live in the suburbs or in rural areas, you shouldn't have any trouble finding clean water. There's plenty of ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, reservoirs, all right? If you live in a city, you can still scavenge rainwater, all right? You just have to be smart, all right? So I always recommend to people, if you have limited funds, all right, spend your money on ammo, on food, and on weapons, all right? Because those are the three things that are always going to sell out first before anything else. And we've seen with this whole pandemic how there's a massive ammo shortage, there's a lot of gun shortages. Things that people used to take for granted are now gone. Canned foods, freeze-dried foods are all gone. So put your money towards some food preps, all right? Because prepping for an EMP is the same thing as prepping for anything else. There's no difference really. It's the same thing. The only thing you could do is put some of your critical electronics into Faraday cages, or into like Faraday bags. I actually don't have any Faraday cages. What I do have is I have Faraday bags. All right, these are Mylar bags. They're kind of like Ziploc bags that are made out of Mylar, and I put all my critical electronics in them. All right, and you could even make these bags yourself. You can buy rolls of Mylar from a industrial supply company, and you can just buy rolls and rolls of Mylar and make your own EMP bags. But I usually just go to a website. It's literally called EMPbags.com, and I'll put a link in the description box below this video. All right, EMPbags.com. And you can buy little Ziploc bags to put all your critical electronics into them. All right, cell phone, ham radio, night vision goggles, thermal optics, Geiger counters. All right, I usually, in my EMP bags, I keep my ham radio, I keep my thermal, and I keep my radiation dosimeter and cell phone. All right, that's the main things that I keep in my EMP proof bags. All right, I'm not concerned about creating a Faraday cage for my car. All right, because if it's a EMP it doesn't matter anyway. Society's going to be totally collapsed, and I'm not going to really want to be driving on the roads and putting myself in danger by being out on the road anyway. So I'm not worried about my car. Plus, I can also scavenge a car that has a carburetor, so I'm not too worried about that either. All right. So, you know, food, ammo, and weapons would be my big three to focus on. After that, you know, batteries, miscellaneous gear, tools. Tools are very handy. Hand tools, power tools, building materials. You never know what you would have to build after an EMP event or SHTF event. When society collapses, you may have to build things, you may have to repair things on your house or your bug out location. All right, so building materials, tools. All right, so guys, I'm not panicking about these EMP threats. I've talked about EMPs before, and you know, I did a video a few weeks ago about EMPs actually. Maybe some of you guys missed that one, but I talked about the possibility of an EMP threat. I did a video on that like a month ago, all right? And people were saying that I was being a fearmonger, and now those same people that were saying I was a fearmonger are telling me that there's a EMP coming, you know? So, you know, we are ripe. We're ripe for EMP right now. I mean, with everything going on, you know, pandemic, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You know, we have a faltering economy. We have civil unrest. All right, there's a lot of anxiety about the future. People don't know what's going to happen. All right, now's a great time for us to get hit by an EMP. So, you know, if anybody wants to hit us with an EMP, whether it's China, Iran, Russia, North Korea, all right, now's an excellent time for them to hit us, you know, because, you know, we are totally struggling right now. Our economy is on the brink of collapse. We're in the middle of a pandemic with no foreseeable cure, no foreseeable vaccine in sight. We have civil unrest. We have an election coming. Okay, there's a lot of things going on, and now's a great time for somebody to hit us with an EMP. So I definitely think that now's a very dangerous time as far as EMPs go. I think if anybody were to hit us with an EMP, it would be now. And I've talked about that in my previous videos, okay? So this is nothing new to me, guys. I'm not panicking about it. I'm preparing. I'm continuing to prep. You know, I'm always prepping 24/7. You know, I'm always thinking of new things to do, new ways to prep. My mind is always constantly switched on to prepping. You know, I don't just prep when I watch a YouTube video and then run out to the store and buy, you know, 100 cans of chicken after I watch the latest Canadian Prepper video or something like that. You know, my mind is always on prepping. You know, I'm always thinking about prepping, and you guys should be the same way. You know, you should be constantly switched on, paying attention to the news, thinking about new things to get and gaps in your preps. You know, it should be on your mind all the time. I mean, I'm not saying all the time, but it should be in the back of your mind. It should be one of those things that's in the back of your mind all the time. And so that's kind of my thoughts about that. You know, continue to prep. You know, don't stop prepping. That's my biggest advice to you guys. You know, just because the first wave is over and it looks like things are calming down, and you know, we just had a big holiday, Labor Day, don't slow down your preps. You know, we're also heading into the anniversary of 9/11, which is obviously another opportunity for someone to hit us with an EMP or some kind of terrorist attack. So, you know, you should definitely be on high alert right now. You know, but again, prepping for an EMP is the same thing as prepping for anything else. You know, it's you know, food, water, shelter, self-defense, you know, the basics of prepping, the bread and butter of prepping. You know, whether it's EMP or anything else, if you have everything squared away, you don't have to worry about it. And if you don't have everything squared away, now's a good time to go and start building up your supplies. You know, stock up on canned foods. You know, stock up on essential goods that you need. All right. ammo, weapons, things like that. And as far as the EMP goes, you know, EMPs on satellites are nothing new. All right, we've known about that for decades. All right, and I've talked about that in my previous videos. The Soviets, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union, they had a program where they set up EMPs and put them on satellites. All right, so they could detonate them at any time. All right, so it's nothing new, guys. All right, the Soviets have been doing this. During the Cold War, they were launching satellites with EMPs. It's nothing new, and we should already assume that there's probably hundreds of satellites with EMPs on them flying over us right now. All right, we should always assume that, because they've had this program in place since the Cold War, and we know that North Korea has also done the same thing. All right, we know that North Korea also has super EMPs. All right, if you guys don't know what a super EMP is, a super EMP is basically an EMP that can penetrate hardened facilities and hardened electronics that are hardened by the military. All right, so we know that even North Korea has what's called a super EMP that can penetrate hardened targets. Okay, all right, because when the EMPs first came out, you know, obviously militaries around the world, especially the United States military, they took proactive measures to harden their facilities, their vehicles, their satellites, you know, their armored vehicles. Everything was hardened. All right, when the discovery of EMPs first came out in the 50s, all right, when they were doing all the missile tests in the Pacific, all right, all the big superpowers took steps to harden their equipment from an EMP. All right, so you know, there basically became an EMP arms race in a sense. All right, because initially the EMP was discovered, and then after the EMP was discovered, you know, countries started hardening to protect against them, and then other countries developed stronger EMPs that would nullify those hardened protection mechanisms. All right, the Faraday cages or whatever they do. So they ended up creating the super EMP weapons. All right, look at this big tree here, guys. Big old, looks like a sycamore. Big old sycamore here. All right. So, you know, as a result, we have what's called super EMP weapons. Okay, and the super EMP weapons are basically EMPs on steroids. All right, they can penetrate protection mechanisms, Faraday cages. You know, so if one of those EMPs went off, it doesn't matter if you have a Faraday cage in your garage to protect your car, or you built Faraday cages in your house. All right, if a super EMP goes off, it's going to wipe out everything, including military electronics. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I don't get too caught up in building Faraday cages and things like that. You know, because with the super EMPs, it's not going to do anything, and it's going to also take out the military systems as well. So not only do you have to be concerned with your own personal electronics and things like that, but you have to be also concerned with the military and how they would be affected by a super EMP. All right, because if they hit us with a super EMP, even the military is not going to be protected from that. Some of their electronics are going to go down, and you know, if that happens, you know, then we're talking about you know, the U.S. possibly being invaded as the next step, because the first step would be to take out our power grid. The next step would be an invasion, you know. So, you know, just wanted to give you guys something to think about. But, you know, my thoughts on the whole thing is, You know, there's been EMPs on satellites for decades. It's nothing new to me. I've been prepping for over 10 years. So I'm not really freaked out about it, all right? Like I said, we should assume that there's hundreds of satellites orbiting the Earth with EMPs on them, and not just regular EMPs, but super EMPs, okay? So, and just prep like you would normally prep for anything else, all right? Food, water, ammo, weapons, but really focus on food and ammo, because water, you can find water anywhere, you know? Ammo and food are going to be the first things that dry up after any kind of major collapse of society, as we've already seen with the pandemic. You know, there's an ammo shortage right now. There were food shortages earlier. You know, water you can get from rain, but you can't get, you know, food doesn't fall out of the sky and ammo doesn't fall out of the sky. So, all right, guys, so that's pretty much it. You know, don't panic, prepare, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere.